Nation. We love and appreciate it. Now, can you dig it? Let's get it.
What's up, Cowboys Nation?
What is up? Welcome to the Thursday live edition of the Cowboys Cave. My boy Kelly K9. How you feeling today, brother? Are you there? You're frozen. Well, he's frozen. We got to work these details out. But hey, we got a good show for you. We're going to let him get them technical difficulties out. But he's a little bit under the weather. But we've got some good stuff coming up on the show. We're going to be talking a little bit of draft, talking a little off season. We want you guys to participate. So we'll be dropping that number. If you guys want to give us a holler, you can do it. We can talk a little bit. If not, you can sit back, relax, join the chat. Let us hear your thoughts on some of the things we're covering. But I'm going to do a public service announcement, a little shameless promo. So the next couple of weeks, we set up some pretty cool interviews. First one we got is Ernie Mills, played with the Cowboys, started with the Steelers. He was the wide receiver for the Steelers in Super Bowl 30. So we get to hear the other side of that story of that Super Bowl 30 matchup, kind of hear what he had to say. Then, of course, coming to the Cowboys and being there kind of really during that big transition with Chan Gailey. He had brought him over. He was with the triplets and kind of winding down the triplets part. So we're going to get that thing going, and that'll be next week. And then the week after, I believe the 20th on Thursday, we've got Dave Campo, who's going to be live in the cave, and we're going to be talking to him about his 18-year career coaching with the Cowboys as an assistant. Obviously, he was a head coach, but we've got a lot of good stuff coming up on the show. Let me just see what's going on with my man Kelly. He seems to be having a little issues. He said he'd be jumping on in 1 second, so he's going to get that thing figured out. But so we got a lot of fun stuff going on in this show, and we got a lot of good stuff going on with the Cowboys, right? We got Hankins. He's signed. We sealed up that defensive tackle spot a little bit. So we've got pretty much the defense back in order. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this draft, and we're going to get into that. Like it's, we can kind of best player available. I know some people don't like to hear that. So let's see what we got in the chat while we're waiting on Kelly. Ernie Mills from his town. Now we're going to be live. We're going to be live. So make sure you guys chime in for Ernie Mills and Dave Campo. It's a great opportunity to ask some questions. Obviously with Ernie Mills, thoughts on the Super Bowl 30, and then obviously coming to the Cowboys. But I'm telling you, Dave Campos, he was here from 89 and into the 2000s. So he saw it all. The Jimmy Johnson transition to Barry Switzer. Remember, he stayed on the staff with Barry Switzer, was our defensive coordinator in Super Bowl 30. So we got a 90s theme going on, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys definitely hopping in the chat. We're going to get Kelly going. Yeah, we got to work on him with his technology. My man needs to work on that a little bit, but let's see what we got in the chat. What's up, bro? How about them Cowboys? It's WrestleMania week. Cody Rhodes. Your boy loves some wrestling. But I'm more old school. I like Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, my man Booker T, Harlem Heat, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. So I don't watch as much new stuff, but I watch it from time to time. But I always watch WrestleMania because it's a staple, but it's a way, I got to get caught up. So make sure you guys fill me in on that. And I think we're getting Kelly in there. Let's see if we got my man. Kelly, you there?
I'm here,
Kelly,
man.
there?
Sorry about the technical difficulty. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. No, you're good. You're good, brother. You're good.
All right, man. Sorry about that. I was to make a dramatic entrance and stuff.
That's what I'm thinking. You told me a little under the weather, so figure you want to make this dramatic. Like, you're doing a Michael Jordan game 6. You got a tough one out for the boys, and make sure you come through in the Cowboys cave. So we like that.
Pulling it together.
No, it's good. Well, we were just talking real quick, and then we'll get going. I was just letting everyone know about Ernie Mills. live in the cave. That's going to be a good one. Wide receiver for the Cowboys, but obviously was a receiver for the Steelers in Super Bowl 30. So we're going to get into that. And then the one I think it's going to be really cool is on the 20th, that Thursday, having Coach Dave Campo in the cave. He was here from 89 to 2000, so he's seen it all. So we got a lot to talk about with this Cowboys team in the 90s. So hopefully you guys join into that. But let's get to the current business at hand. I talked about Hankins. We signed him. That was a big move, right? We shore up that defensive tackle. I know you want a big nasty, so we got one big nasty back, and this maybe kind of gives us a lot of options, in the draft.
Yeah, for sure. We got a guy back that, a lot of people when we first got him were talking about how he was he didn't have anything left in the tank, but I mean, there was an obvious difference from when he went out with an injury on that run game and stopping the run game to when he went out. So obviously he's a guy who's going to clog up, take some space up in the middle. That was one of the Cowboys' weaknesses on defense, was stopping the run. So it's good to have him back on board. Obviously that position for me still could use some youth. Maybe we can look towards the draft. A name that's starting to pick up steam is that Cansey. I think it's Kalijah. I think is how you say his name, Cansey. The kid out of Pittsburgh. There's been some comparisons to him, to Aaron Donald type kind of guy. So he's a guy that now is starting to get a little bit of heat for the Cowboys at that 26th pick. So they can go a lot of ways though, for sure. So it's nice to see Hank back on.
Yeah, and we're gonna jump into some draft talk. So let's bring our Mel Kiper. Maybe he's a Mel Kiper wannabe. Maybe I don't know what the hell he is. He probably knows just about as much as him. But we're gonna bring it on. We got Mikey coming in. He's been on the show a few times. What's up, Mikey? You're in the Cowboys cave, so you must be doing all right.
I'm back. Yes, sir.
So let's talk about the draft. I want to pick your brain because this is a young man's game. I don't know. I love watching football, but I can't memorize all these guys. I can only go by what I see. So looking at the Cowboys, 26 spot, all the mock drafts that I'm seeing, they're all pointing in one direction, and that's the Bijan, Robinson running back out of Texas. He seems to be the lightning rod that seems to be attracting to Dallas. I mean, what's your thoughts? And then Kelly, give me obviously we want to get your thoughts on that too.
Well, I think if he's there, I think you take him with no hesitation. I think he would be a game changer for us, especially with him and Pollard in the backfield. And if you also get Bijan in the first round, you get him for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a steal for us.
That's the thing with running back. I don't know, Kelly, your thoughts on that. That was something I was thinking about is like if you get Robinson, you got him 5 years, right? Because you pick up that 5th year option. And if you want to get nasty, you can tag him the 6th year, kind of like what the Giants did. So is that enough value for a running back? Or are you saying, hey, you can get that value later? What's your thoughts doing that running back in the first round? Because it gets a lot of swing either way.
Well, I'm not mad if the Cowboys go that route with with the first round with that 26 pick, because I mean, he is a guy who's going to be a starter day one. Like, he's going to come in, he's going to be an impact player. Him and Tony Pollard on the same field together would be the most dynamic running back duo in the NFL, in my opinion. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that if he's there. I feel like somebody's going to snag him before he gets there, man. I know Philly has they like getting guys. If they think the Cowboys they did it with Dallas Goedert a few years ago, that they think that Dallas has their eyes on a player, they'll swoop in and get him. I don't think Philly would want to see him on our roster. And, and they're lacking a little bit at their running back position. They did add Penny, but they lost, Miles Sanders. So I think that they could look to add a running back there. I don't really see him getting to us, but if he does, that's one of those picks where I think it's kind of like you can't pass that talent up.
Yeah. And all right. So if let's say Robinson's not there, what do Mikey, what's your thoughts? What are you looking at in the draft in the first round if you don't have Robinson?
I think if he's not there, I think you go best available, maybe best available O lineman, maybe best available D lineman, or you take a risk and you go with Jamar Gibbs, the Alabama running back, who I like. I think his versatile his speed. I think he would open up the field more, especially with him and Pollard. Maybe sling him out a receiver here and there, but I don't know. I think we go either way.
What would you think about that, Kelly? If you go Gibbs in the first, maybe it's a little bit. I've seen him go high second, so maybe you're reaching. But when it comes to reaching, we heard that story with Frederick. The Cowboys got destroyed for
Yeah,
drafting Frederick in the end of the first round. They said you could have, he's rated this, you could have got him later. But man, if you want a guy and you need a guy, go get the guy. I don't give a
yeah.
shit where he's at, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, running back is definitely one of the positions that the Cowboys are going to need to address. They can't. I don't really think they can go into the season with the guys that they. I like Pollard, but obviously Pollard's coming off an injury, and then behind him, you don't really have a whole bunch that's proven behind him. Not anything that I think is going to get you where you want to be. I think they're going to have to pick somebody up now, whether that's the first, second, third, fourth, round that they address that. I do know that in the past, in recent years, that there's been a lot of value found in mid to late round draft
Yeah.
picks when it comes to running backs. And I do know there's some guys out there, running back position. There's some pretty good dudes out there, that you could probably get some value out of. Me personally, I'm of the thought that if it's not Bijan, if he's not there, that the Cowboys continue to try to build up the trenches, go D line, O line.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know there's been some talk about that. Steve Avila, the offensive lineman from TCU.
Yep.
Like I said, Kalijah Cansey, the defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. So, I mean, those are two guys that I think that you take a hard look at. Outside of that, I mean, I think that this team has been the best when our offensive line is built up. We've never really had a super stout D line. I mean, we've got some decent defensive ends that can get after the quarterback. We've never had a D line across the board where it's like, man, this is a stout defensive line, because we just tend to not really address that defensive tackle position.
Yeah.
In terms of high draft picks, early round draft picks. So that would be different to see them kind of swing that way. But I like it when the Cowboys draft in the trenches, man, and they know how to draft offensive line.
And
So if they go O-line in the first round, I feel like they'll get a good pick in that.
and it's been proven, the game's won in the trenches. So I wouldn't have any issues. I'm kind of wide open. I think they do need a running back. If you get a special guy and he falls to you, then by all means get him. But I do think, it's been proven too, you can get a running back later. It's just maybe, Pollard, if he's 100% healthy, maybe I wouldn't be as concerned. Hey, go get a kid in the 5th, 6th round or something. Maybe, take a flyer on somebody. But, McCarthy, and we're going to get into it in a little bit. McCarthy wants to, he says he wants to run the ball. If we believe he wants to run the ball, you better have the running backs to run the ball. And I don't know if Jones is much of an upgrade over Zeke. I don't know your guys' opinion. Did Jones signing get y'all excited, or
No.
no?
No, not really. I mean, if anything, I mean, to be honest, I don't know really what happened there, what the conversation was. It sounds like they didn't even really make Zeke an offer. I would have preferred to just bring back Zeke if you're going to bring in a guy like that, because in my opinion, Zeke's an upgrade over Ronald Jones. So
Yeah.
that was a head scratcher to me. I kind of thought that they would have at least went back to the table and tried to, get Zeke in at a lower offer. I mean, he's still out there. He's not a guy who looks like he's, really picking up a whole lot of traction within other teams. I think he may be one of those guys that is a sign that's like after the draft, or maybe even into training camp type guy. But yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling real comfortable right now with what we have at the running back position. I think Jones could be a guy that ends up getting cut before the season starts, to be honest with you. I mean, he just hasn't been impressive. He didn't get on the field with Kansas City.
Yep.
Didn't do a whole lot with Tampa Bay. So, I mean, I don't just really see this guy's career being reinvigorated coming to Dallas.
Yeah, I think he's insurance policy. I think he's just there in case if there is a slip up with Pollard's rehab, if they don't get a running back, But in the draft, if they don't get a top tier one, maybe you gotta have him there. So that'll lead to, not to jump off the draft. We'll go jump back on it, Mikey. I want to we got a few other questions to ask you about some other positions, but just since we're talking running back and people in the chat, your thoughts about it. We all say goodbye to Zeke, but Is there a chance that Zeke comes back and in some role, and maybe you end up cutting Jones, bringing Zeke back? You got a running back, and you got kind of a three-headed monster. What would your thoughts be on that? Is that just the media keeping the
I
circus alive?
mean,
Do you think
I mean
there's
they they
anything?
gave away Zeke's number, man. But I did see where Zeke tweeted out he wanted his 15 back. So maybe he comes back and he's number 15, which means that I got to buy a new Ezekiel Elliott jersey if that happens. But
Yeah,
I'm I'm for it, man. I don't know. Like I said, to me it was just kind of curious how, um, you know, the reports came out later after Zeke was released that they didn't even really come back to the table and offer him a lesser deal. They
yeah,
basically were just like, "Hey, we're cutting you, and you can go try to find a deal elsewhere, and we'll keep the door open on a possible return." I don't know if that's just lip service because they like Zeke, but I don't know. I just feel like there could have been a deal that had been worked out there. Zeke wanted to stay in Dallas. He said he would take less money. I mean, even if Zeke would have stayed, I still think that running back would have been a position that we would have needed to address. But I mean, you know, Zeke's a short yardage guy, and Pollard was your explosive guy. I think we had a pretty good combo the way
yeah,
we had it set up. So
yeah, yeah. And I think that you know I don't want to say the book's closed on him, but I think I think it's closed. I don't foresee him coming back. I don't think it's gonna happen. And I think especially if they get a running back early in the draft, then it
yeah,
pretty much seals it. I love Zeke, and I mean I love him to death. And he's been a warrior for us, and I'll argue that to the day I die about his money. He earned every penny.
oh
But
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to cry because I have a rule in the cave that if you're not on the Cowboys and you're at another team, I got to take you out. So it's going to be very hard to fill all those holes that Zeke has, in the cave. So maybe I need him to come back to save me some time and money because I got to replace all the stuff. But we'll see what happens. But back to the draft, Mike. You just want to finish up some draft talk, then we'll let you roll out. But wide receiver. So we get Cooks. You're right. You got, of course, we got CD. Gallup. Is he going to come back? Tight end. I saw a lot in the chat getting tight end in the draft. But you got Ferguson, right? You got Hendershot.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing? Let's start wide receiver. What do you see in receiver that maybe catches your eye? That maybe not a guy that's a first rounder, but who's someone out there that if he's there in the right spot, you'd jump on him?
I think for receiver, I would go Nathaniel Dell. I
Okay.
would go with him just because now he may be small, but he catches the ball with no problem. I mean, he had like 1,400 yards or 17 touchdowns last year, and the dude's a baller.
Well, he's a baller, and Kelly, you're pretty strong on him too, I think.
I am. I like that guy. That's a good one. He's a smaller guy, man, but he catches everything thrown his way. He's got stick him on them hands. I really like that dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that I don't know. You can move him all over, but I think he'd be a great guy out of the slot, obviously, just with that smaller size. But I mean, he's a guy that definitely. Now, somebody had mentioned something about that him, and I don't know if maybe he has. I didn't get a chance to really look into it. If he's had some legal troubles or something, but somebody had mentioned something about him slipping in the draft. I don't know how true that is, but Jerry Jones has never shied away. Jerry Jones has never shied. Yeah,
about that. So
if anything, legal troubles might have actually pushed him up the board on the Cowboys draft.
Oh yeah, no.
That usually makes you a guaranteed second rounder, and with the Cowboys, right?
That's right. That's right.
But now, I don't know, Mikey. If you want to tell the story, you want me to tell the story with
You tell the story, and I'll jump.
You fill in the blanks, because Kelly, this is a story I think you'll appreciate. This is why we got to get this guy in Dallas for this story alone. So, Houston plays USF. So, your boy lives in Tampa. Family goes to USF. So, I didn't go to the game. Mikey went to the game. My brother went to the game. Whole family goes to the game. Anyone who knows my brother knows he's got the yap. He should be a comedy writer or should be some stand-up, but he's very quick-witted. You don't want to get in a cracking contest with him. You'll lose every time. So, they're playing the game. Houston, I think, was ranked 17th, Mikey?
I think like 17 or 18.
17. USF was terrible. So, USF is rolling on them. They're coming into the tunnel. My brother's seats and all their seats are in the tunnel. The visiting team's going in, and my brother proceeds to berate them, telling them that they suck. Why are you you're ranked 17? You're terrible. And then he got on Dell and was pointing him out and yelling at him. So then those two started jawing at it, and he pointed at him and said, "Just wait a minute." And they went in the locker room. Right? Do I got the story so far right?
Yeah.
So then after, when they're coming out to have, Dell is looking for my brother in the stands, finds him, looks at him and points over to the end zone and says, "Watch this." First play, look it up if you think I'm bullshitting you. First play, I think the first drive they had in the second half, took it like 80 yards, proceeded to end up blowing out USF in the second. Look at his stats, huge numbers, and then he went looking for him after the game. That's the guy I want on my team.
Yeah, man. That's Cowboys can use some dog like that.
I mean, he was not. I mean, he was in it, man, and that just turned him up. And that's kind of the dog you talk about. It's that Michael Irvin kind of dog that you have that that refused to lose. So that was just a fun story. And when I saw you tweet about him, it reminded me of it. But he would be a good one. Is there tight end? What are you guys thinking? Either one of you on tight end? Is there someone that's catching your eye?
Washington from Georgia,
the big 6'7".
Yeah, I like him.
Now, is that a first? Do you guys think we'd have to get him in the first round, or is he slipping to the second?
I don't see a lot of him in the first round. Like a lot of mock drafts of him being in the first round. So maybe we snag him in the second.
Yeah.
And then maybe Tank Dell slide to the third. Maybe trade up and get him. But
yeah. Well, so are you thinking all offense? Is that what you're saying? Are you guys thinking we should be an offensive heavy draft, Kelly?
I mean, for the most part, they are pretty. I think they're pretty set on defense, but I mean, I think that probably the earlier rounds offense. But like I said, again, I'm not gonna shy away from going with a big old nasty with pick number 26. But
yeah.
If we were, I think offense needs to be addressed a little bit more right now. I think they're pretty set on defense, but there are some positions I'd like to see just a little bit more depth at. I wouldn't mind seeing them taking a DB. Maybe mid to late round, get another DB in there because we could use some depth and some more youth there. That's not going to be something that would hurt to add a DB, and then like I said, maybe get a defensive tackle at some point that you can maybe a space eater. But I mean, other than that, yeah, I think this would be a draft where you'd go heavy on offense just because of the moves that we've made in the offseason. I think that this is probably a draft where you're gonna see the Cowboys load up on some offense. Want to put some weapons around Dak and let it roll, man. So I mean, defense is on point. Now it's time to see have the offense come out, and Mike McCarthy, it's you're up to bat, man. Let's see what you can do, buddy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Stevenson from the U, I wouldn't be so bad if we got him.
Oh no, I wouldn't be mad at that.
So I'd be happy. So all right, Mike, we'll let you roll. You'll be back next time with some more draft stuff. We're going to focus on defense, but I appreciate you jumping on, brother.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right, man. So get the draft going. That's and that's the thing. We're in the dog days right now. I think you and I were talking about that. It's like, man, you're just trying to lead up, get through this draft. So like I said, we got some couple good interviews coming up the next couple weeks to fill it. And then you're going to be live at the draft. So you're going to be able to give a bird's eye view, maybe drop a couple videos, let us know what's happening. Hopefully you get on TV a little bit. I'll give you some tricks of the trade that worked for us when we were in Philly. We got on NFL Network and ESPN. So that was pretty cool. But Are you pumped to be there for the draft?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm ready that should be fun, man.
And are you staying for are you just doing first round? Or are you going to do?
So I'm gonna stay there for the first and second day. I think I'm gonna head back Saturday. So I think I'll be there for Thursday night and then Friday day. I'll probably head back out on Saturday. So I'll be there for the first 2 days.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I was there for the Drew Pearson, moment. That's the draft I was at. You couldn't ask for a better moment there, especially in Philly. So.
Oh yeah. That's a moment that'll go down, man. That was a pretty iconic moment when he did that. He had him riled up as soon as he walked up on stage.
Oh, it was awesome. And if you're out, hey, you know, tell these people if they're out, they better look you up, man. They better holler at you. I hear some people going to the draft. Make sure you guys give Kelly a holler so you guys can meet up for sure.
That's right. That's right. Be
So
there and gonna, get gonna get into some trouble in the Power and Light District. Well, try not to get in too much trouble. It's just gonna, of course I'm gonna let loose.
you gotta enjoy yourself and
Absolutely.
it'll be a great. You're gonna have a blast, man.
Yeah, I got a cousin that works down there in KC. He's one of the big wigs in the police department, so I could start throwing around names if I get into any hairy situations.
Well, there you go. And also befriend the security guys. They're the ones that can help you slide in because they have the area for the regular folk, and then they got the VIPs, and that's where you want to end up getting into if it's the same as what they did in Philly. So my son and I, we weaseled our way in both times, and when you get in there, it's you have a blast. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. And I definitely want, and everyone in there, man, if you're in here, hit that like button real quick. Hit that like button on YouTube. That helps us out. If you're not subscribed, damn it, what the hell are you waiting for? We're putting on some good stuff. We're getting key interviews with all these legends, man. You got to show us some love. But no, all kidding aside, McCarthy's offense, you and I kind of bounced off. You know, it's something that's on your mind. What's your thoughts? See, Kelly, you there?
Well,
can you hear me?
I know that they've talked about running the ball. So I'm interested to see if they're going to stick with that run, or if it's because Kellen Moore's offense was I don't know. I usually refer to Kellen Moore's offense as a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of meaningless stats. You know what I mean? And didn't really come through in crucial moments where we really needed it to come. Struggled in the red zone sometimes. So I'm curious to see what this, because I've heard some whispers and some stuff about Mike McCarthy wanting to kind of go a little bit more towards a West Coast type style offense. Which look, I mean, if that's what we were into running, I mean, if Mike McCarthy, because he's been given kind of control. You have to look at what the moves that have been made this year. He has absolutely added players, as far as Cooks would go, that could kind of fit the mold that he's wanting to run. So if he was wanting to run that, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, it's the West Coast offense. That's kind of what Shanahan runs. Basically, it's quick passes, quick little outs to the receivers, get them open in space, spread them out on the field, get them open in space, and then let them make moves. And, if you look at what we've got on this team, I mean, a guy like CeeDee Lamb, who can make moves after the catch, who's great after the catch. A guy like Brandon Cooks, running little cross routes, running little drag routes. If you look at Brandon Cooks, he does that very well, man. You get him mismatched, with a DB or sometimes, if for some reason he gets on a linebacker, it's game over. But, you look at stuff like that. We've got guys on that team. And now if you think about it, you've even got, because it's speed, you know what I mean? It's speed guys. Yes. No more curl routes.
We don't want none of that.
Curl routes are done. Thank God. Throw them out the window. We never see another curl route again. But, and then you think about, speed in that offense, in a West Coast style offense. So you got Pollard, you know what I mean? You've got guys that got some speed. You got CeeDee Lamb that can make some moves. You got Brandon Cooks as a speed guy. And then, you think about our kick returner, Turpin, you know what I mean? Let's
get him on the field.
I'm anxious to see what we do when we, put him on the field, because he's a guy who I feel like if you get the ball in his hands, can make some things happen too. So it's going to be interesting to see, the layers that are involved in McCarthy and Schottenheimer and this new offense that they're going to be installing, and how different it'll look from what we've seen last year, to this year. But I don't think you can go wrong with getting the ball out of Dak's hands faster, quicker. You know what I mean? It cuts down on that whole decision time. The decision, is this receiver gonna cut back on the, when he makes his comeback? Is he gonna make, is he gonna come back at the right moment? You know what I mean? It just takes a lot of the thinking out of the process, which is why,
right? That's
exactly. I mean, you get him on these little crossers, you get the ball out of his hands quick, and just boom, boom, boom. Dak doesn't have to think much. And that's why you look at a guy like Shanahan's offense. It's been successful with whoever he seems to throw behind center, because it's kind of a simplistic offense, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not super complicated, and sometimes I think Kellen Moore overcomplicated things for Dak, and I think that that hurt Dak's his decision making and his process when breaking down receivers and routes and who he's throwing it to.
Yeah, and it's really McCarthy's all about let your playmakers make plays, and he did that a lot in Green Bay. That was a lot of
Yep.
focus there. And the one thing you can't get away from, they ran the ball. I mean, they ran the ball in Green Bay. His offense, they did run the ball. He was on the staff with the Saints when they had, I think it was McAllister and Ricky Williams. I mean, he's always done that. I don't know. Frank Gore's been around forever, so maybe he was there when Frank Gore was at 49ers. I can't remember, but I mean, he's always been running the ball. So I think they're going to run the ball. But the one thing, with Winston said with Turpin, if you look at the way some of these guys are, where you get a Dante Hall, you remember he was the original X. I mean, he made sure he pointed that out to me when I met him. When I told him about Des Bryant, he was the original X, and Kansas City loves him. But he was a kick returner, but they put him on offense, to just run a few plays. And I think that's where we missed it with Turpin. You have him in space. He's dangerous in space. He's a weapon in space. And you get the ball in his hands, maybe something happens. And I just didn't think we did that enough. I mean, you're not going to give him the ball 10 times, but hey, if he gets three touches on offense or whatever it is, but he's in 10 plays to just kind of keep him guessing, that can't be a bad thing. And I think they're going to run the ball. To your point, I think the quick passing and take some of that decision making, or that making sure the receivers and quarterbacks are on the same page. But I also think I love our tight ends. So I think our offense is, I mean, they should explode. And to your point with Moore, everyone jumps back to, number one offense. But you and I both know, and any Cowboy fan knows, that wasn't the number one offense. It's some garbage time it was. But we need an offense when it comes nut cutting time, that they're going to run it down someone's throat, or they're going to throw it down, and they're going to do whatever they got, and they're going to get rough. And we don't have that. That's what we got to get to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want an offense that is set up to come into every football game to where the defensive coordinator has the game plan to stop you, not the other way around. You know what I mean? And sometimes it just seemed like Kellen Moore was like, there was just no adjustments to what a defense would do. It's like the defense was like, well, we're going to run this and you got to adjust to us. You know what I mean? And
if he wasn't in rhythm early, they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, you almost knew 5-10 minutes into the game, shit, here we go. We're going to be in for a dogfight. Or if it was like in the Tampa playoff game where it's just, by the second drive, things are just going. You're like, all right, this is going to be it. Yep. That's where I think, like in that playoff game against the 49ers, we knew. I mean, you're a Cowboy fan. You're like, all right, well, maybe we'll pull it out, but it ain't going to be a pretty game offensively. It's going to be on our defense to do it. And I think that's where I think McCarthy is going to bring that in. I think he's underestimated. And you guys, maybe they'll mark the tape. They'll come laugh at me later. But I think he's underestimated as a head coach. But I think he's also very underestimated as an offensive mind. You can go back to a lot of old YouTube, and you'll find his quarterback schools that he did and all this other. I mean, he's a smart dude when it comes to football. I mean, you don't win a Super Bowl by chance, and you can say whatever you want with Rodgers and all that, but Rodgers been there since he's been gone. I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that say that Aaron Rodgers was the reason for Mike McCarthy's Super Bowl win. But I think that right now, Mike McCarthy could say he's the reason for Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl win, because where's he been without him?
Yes.
I mean, he hasn't even been back to the Super Bowl.
No, that's what I mean. He ain't been there. Forget
it. A lot of his losses have been before the NFC Championship game, even. So I mean, it's not like he's sitting there knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. Like, he has not done really squat since McCarthy left. Yeah. So, people can say what they want about Mike McCarthy. I love the influence he's having on this team. I love the influence on the moves, the signings. The direction of the team just seems to be Mike McCarthy style moves. Like he is making these moves and, to build the team that he envisions, you know what I mean? And I trust this. I trust the process right now, man. I don't have a bad thing to say about McCarthy, because if you look at McCarthy too, all the things that he's been criticized since he came into Dallas, right? Okay, time management. He's gotten better at time management. You look at, they talked about the penalties and how this team was undisciplined and a penalty-ridden team. Well, he's cleaned that up. And last year, they looked like a much more disciplined team, a lot less penalties. So, I mean, you just look at all the things that he's been criticized for in his time since coming to Dallas. Well, he's gotten better in every single aspect of that. And I just think people a lot of times expect a guy to come in and be an instantaneous success. I mean, the guy started out in a COVID year, but still has come in and really, had winning seasons since he's been here. That's all he's done is that winning season since he's been here. So how could you not trust what he's doing? And I mean, I'm excited about this year. I'm excited about the direction of the team. I trust McCarthy. I trust the process, regardless of what it is, man. I'm on board.
Yeah, and you know what it is? A lot of times, clock management. I mean, that's always hindsight, right? Sometimes, and I think you can nitpick any coach for that. So I don't get caught. The thing I know is the media is going to dissect everything the Cowboys do, and especially their coaching. And it's a matter of how much everyone sucks into it. The one thing I'll say with McCarthy that he's done is like it says, it's his team. This ain't Jason Garrett. I mean, this team is totally different. Their mindset's different. The locker room's different. Everything feels different. Now, what we got to get is a Super Bowl. You don't get a Super Bowl, all that don't mean nothing, right? But I think he's doing everything the right way that you could ask him to do. He lets Jerry and Steven do what the hell they want and get in front of on this stuff and do all this other crap that they want to do. And he just goes about his business. He's about coaching. He's about his business. And I think that's a good thing. And I think, Dan Quinn being there obviously doesn't hurt. Obviously it helps. But, he must he had coaching opportunities and he wanted to stay on McCarthy's staff. He loves and it could be the culture that is built, from the head coach down. And you got to if you're going to give them the blame, you got to give these coaches some of the credit when they build that culture and the foundation and they got these guys and they're hanging out, all of that kind of stuff is like family. It's going to pay off. And, I think they're there. The schedule's going to be, we talked about the schedule last week. It's going to be a test, but everyone else in the division is going to have that same test. And I think that makes them battle tested and stronger. It's like I said last year, I don't need them to go 14-2. Now I wish they would have went 14-2 because I would have loved to have the cakewalk playoff schedule that the Eagles had. But I just want to get in the playoffs, get in the playoffs, hungry, hot, ready to go, and then make things happen. And that's what I want to see. I don't need to see all the glam and the lights and throwing up 50, whatever. I just want to see him start punishing some people. I think the defense is there to do it. Yeah. And it's going to be fun. But I just love what McCarthy's brought to the team. And he gets his hate. But I think he's the right guy. It's like we talked about. Right guy for the right team. I think he's the right guy for this team.
Yeah. And, I'm the same way. I don't care. I've never been going from, just from a kind of similar type aspect. When I just talk college football just for 1 second, but kind of like Texas Tech, when Texas Tech had Mike Leach as their head coach, they were an air raid style offense that put up, 50, 60 points a game. And, but their defense allowed people to score 50, 60 points a game. So it was hard to win because our defense was so it was like offense was our identity. And then everybody's like, well, we want to score points. When Leach left, they wanted to bring in a coach. They wanted to have we want points. Well, I was always a guy like, I don't give a shit if we have points. I want to win. I don't give a shit if we win a game, 50 to 45, or we win a game 14-10. Yeah. I want to win. And I think with the Cowboys, it's a similar type thing, right? I don't care about the points. I don't care about being the number one offense. I think Mike McCarthy even said this. You don't care about being the number one offense. He wants to be a well-rounded team, right? So build your identity. What are you going to do? You're going to run the ball. You're going to play defense. You're going to keep teams off the field. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of offense he wants. Let's chew the clock. Let's that score our points, but we're gonna have an identity, and this is the identity we're gonna stick to. This is the kind of football team we're gonna get, and we're gonna win.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
all anybody cares about. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a shit about all these stats because at the end of the day, what does that matter? What did the number one offense get anyone? It didn't get us nowhere. You know what I mean? You can sit there and bump your chest and say, wow, we were the number one offense last year. Oh, good. How many playoff games did that win for you? One.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We want to win playoff games.
No doubt. I think to David's point, time of possession. If we get that offense where we're managing and keeping our defense fresh, to your point, that is just going to make the defense even better. Because, like I said, I think some of the problems that we had, especially with Parsons, is wearing down a little bit. So hopefully, a lot of that, they'll address that. Now, I'll be honest with you. Do you know him? Because I don't. I don't know if he's. I don't know that guy. I haven't heard for a year.
Puna Ferd. That sounds like a made up name. Winston, are you making up
Is
names?
Winston messing with us, man? Because I don't know who the hell that is, and I'm getting older, so I don't know every player in the league like I did when I was 18. But
Well,
I don't know what I'd like to get is this a nasty like an Ndamukong Suh type player. That's what I would like. If he's that, then give me that.
Okay, well, so this guy, holy shit, Jesus Christ. This dude is 5'11", 310 pounds. He's a D2.
Jesus.
5'11", 310 pounds. I mean, Jesus. I'm 6'3", and I'm 230, and I think I'm a pretty big dude. This dude's like 4 inches shorter than me and almost 100 pounds more than me. Talk about a space eater. That guy's the kind of guy that goes into fucking Whataburger and doesn't leave anything left on the menu. My good Lord.
Well,
27.
yeah, I'm 5'10", and I'm thinking I'm 205. I'm thinking, man, if I had another 100 pounds on me, what would I look like? That would be tough. There's a kid I had him on our and I couldn't pronounce his name. Again, I'm not a big college guy, but there was someone from Baylor, and I know I'll mess up his name, but he was on my draft graphics. My man, right there. He's a big space eater, and they said the only downside with him is the number of plays that you can get out of him. That was their big concern with him. But he could be someone that they get in the round. But he's a big dude, and that's what the Cowboys never really had that. Now Hankins he's a big dude. Don't get me wrong, but they never had that nasty. Their best D tackle I can think of. You go Jay Ratliff had a run if you're thinking years back, but Leroy Glover, who was undersized, but he was more of a attacking defensive tackle. He wasn't much, he wasn't really known for being a run stopper, but they hadn't had that Vita Vea or the Siragusa, that kind of dog that's just nasty.
Yeah, and a couple years, when Vita was drafted, he was a guy that was that was getting talked about by the Cowboys. They kind of liked him, and I definitely would have liked to get a guy like that, which is why a guy that, like I said, that's heating up on some of these draft boards and some of these mock drafts is that Kancey kid from Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
he's a big, nasty, big dude. He's got a lot of power. Wouldn't I don't know if he'll be there at 26, but I don't know. It's interesting though, because you're right though, the Cowboys, that's an area that they have typically just not addressed in the early rounds, is that DT, that defensive tackle, one tech position or whatever. But they just, it'd be nice to have a guy like that, because if you think about a guy in the middle of that defense that collapses the interior of that offensive line, you know what I mean? And then you've got Parsons, and you've Williams, and you've got DeMarcus Lawrence rushing that. I mean, that creates a big problem for opposing offenses on blocking that up. Where do you go? You know what I mean? You've got Parsons blitzing from an outside position, or you've got him lined up. You've got him blitzing from his linebacker position and not at the edge, and then you've got Sam Williams on one side and DeMarcus Lawrence on the other. You can do some really interesting things and some exciting things on that defense if you added, just a big war daddy type guy right in the middle. So that's what really excites me. I'd love to see that happen, but either way, I think this defense is going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like we talked about earlier in our draft, just talking about the I think the they have options. They don't have to
Yeah.
reach. They don't have to they don't have to trade up. Unless it's a guy they really, really want, as long as they don't have to give a king's ransom for it. But they've got some flexibility. And, the draft's got some depth and some good positions
Yeah.
and positions that they might want to get more depth in. Now, the one thing, not to change it up, it's been talked about a little bit, but you and I, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, was Steele. So, Jerry does what Jerry does, and he just comes out and Jerry's Jerry, goddamn Jerry. Why you even have to say anything's beyond me, but he's talking about, Steele, maybe being the swing or guard or, moving around or this and that. And what's with Jerry?
Honestly, sometimes I think that the dude just can't get out of his own way, and I think he just loves to hear himself talk, man. And sometimes he just needs to just shut up because
Yeah.
he's already proven himself, man, that he's not a football guy. He's just not. You know what I mean? Let your coaches decide who's going to play where. I mean, we're not going to pay Steele the kind of money we're going to pay Steele to be a swing guy. That's not what he's going to do. He's not in there to be a backup. He's there to be a starter. And Jerry is just, bless his heart. He wants to win, and he wants to put this team over the hump, and wants to get the ingredients. But he also wants to be the guy that gets to talk and say things that he thinks matters, and football decisions and stuff. When all reality, he's like the drunk grandpa at Thanksgiving dinner, where you're like, just shut up and eat your goddamn turkey.
Well, it's like the thing I'll say is you never want to tell Jerry a secret. Because maybe the coaches were thinking this, right? Maybe the coaches were saying, you know what? We want to put our best tackles out there. Maybe Tyron's the guy, and we want to keep Tyler there. And maybe maybe that's what they're thinking. They're throwing ideas out. I'm being devil's advocate here. And Jerry's in there listening, and he just can't help himself. But the job can't wait to tell the media I got some juicy stuff. And I think that's what Jerry is. He just can't. He can't keep a secret. He can't keep things in house. He can't control himself. He loves breaking news, right? He loves to, be the guy who told it to you first. And, it's funny. And I take Jerry for what he is. I'm never one to get over like, oh, Jerry's the reason the Cowboys haven't won the Super Bowl and this and that. I've said it before. There's been teams that I've watched, and you have too, Kelly, that have been good enough to go to the Super Bowl, and for whatever reason, they didn't. Now, Jerry's not out on the field, so there's been talented enough teams on this roster to go to the Super Bowl and win. So that hadn't happened. But what I'd say with Jerry is he just makes Dallas a little, goofy, not maybe lose some credibility. I don't know. Fill in the blanks if I'm missing something.
Nah, he likes us to be a show. He likes Dallas to be. A lot of people refer to Dallas as a circus, but they're a circus because Jerry Jones he's the ringmaster, and but he does it well. You know what I mean? He brands the franchise well. He markets the franchise well. That's just Jerry. You know what I mean? And I don't really have much of a problem with it because in all honesty, I don't think Jerry's had a whole lot to do with actual football decisions as of late. I really don't. You know what I mean? But okay, see, Rev just said something, and I was actually going there where he's going. He said, "Gotta get Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor, and we'll kill the curse." Okay, so that's absolutely.
Put that up if you see it, because I lost.
I got it right there. Okay,
right, yeah,
that's absolutely where I was going. I think that. I really do, man. I'm not a big superstitious guy, man, but I feel like that Jimmy Johnson deserves his spot in the Ring of Honor. And I think if Jerry Jones can put his pride to the side, I just feel like that's the football gods looking down on Jerry and saying, look, man, it's bad juju. You got a guy that won you 2 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? He won you 2 Super Bowls and helped build the cornerstone of that dynasty in the 90s, and you don't have him in your Ring of Honor, man. Like, come on, man. He's giving you over a quarter of your Super Bowls, man. He's giving you 2/3 of your Super Bowls, man. And you got this dude sitting not in the ring of, like, for what reason? He's already in the Hall of Fame. So you're telling me he doesn't deserve a spot in the Ring of Honor? Like,
Yeah.
Put your pride to the side, make it happen. Shit, make it happen for the opening day, man. Opening day 2023, kick off the season, put him in the Ring of Honor, and let's fucking roll this thing on into the Super Bowl.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And being a season ticket holder, you're allowed to have they ask you your comments and what could we do different. And that was my comments. I would do something different, get Jimmy in the Ring of Honor. But it was funny when we had Switzer on the show, I asked him about the curse and he didn't want no part of it. He's like, I know he knows, he's not getting into it. And I know, and a little off air talk. He doesn't understand, what's going on. They were friends. They were all friends, and I don't think I've said this before. But I don't ever think Jimmy will get in the Ring of Honor until the Cowboys win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Without. And and Barry did a great job in '95. He walked into a tough situation, but it was Jimmy's guys. I mean, Barry's even acknowledged that it was the coaching staff and everything. But what Barry brought to the table was he came in a bad situation and won the locker room over and won the trust of the players who just lost their coach. And when we got Campo on the 20th, that's something we want to get into because I'm curious. What the coaches, what would Campo, what did Butch Davis, what did these guys see that their coach just got fired, and then they have to stay on the staff. I mean, typically when the coach goes, all the other guys, usually go with him, but Jimmy or Jerry would not let any of them out of their contracts unless they got a head coaching job. I think North Turner or whatever. I think he left that year if my memory's right, but it's crazy, but I don't get it. But it's just the egos, and it's sad what egos do, to people. And I think I just think they need to. Yeah, I just wish they would do it. And Winston, I appreciate the love on that one. So, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was I don't know. It's with Jerry, I just feel like that he definitely has ego. He's definitely got ego to him, and like you said, ego does some crazy things and messes. Because I mean, you look at those guys, and I mean, their friendship dates back to their playing days at Arkansas.
Yes,
you know what I mean. So it's not like these guys just they came up together. You know what I mean, and they formulated this, this plan, and Jerry buys the team and he's like, hey, I want you to come in and be a coach. I mean, they had a really good relationship, and then it all went downhill, because Jerry wasn't getting his fair due and his fair share. And, you look around the league at all 31 other teams. I mean, Jerry's the only guy that's got his own damn show where he comes on and talks to the media every week. You know what I mean? He's got his own spot. He wants to be in he loves the limelight. He craves the limelight. And kudos to him. Fine. You're the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the most valuable franchise in all of sports. So you can do whatever the hell you want. But at the end of the day, man, it just feels like whatever axe there was to grind should be put down, set to the side. The fans want it. And honestly, it's well deserved by Jimmy Johnson. He deserves to be in there.
And it's a crazy thing with Jerry because I think he really is a good dude who cares for his players and cares for his coaches. I mean, yeah, I read Jimmy Johnson's book. I didn't read it. All right, it's the audio book. All right, so calm down. But the audio book, and it was a really good book. And I'd recommend anyone to check it out if they like reading, read it. If not, it's actually a good audio book that you can just sit while you're driving or whatever. And the stories are great. But him and Jerry always had that weird relationship. But when Jimmy Johnson's mother died, they weren't talking. And Jimmy was going through everything, and all of a sudden, just a cater of food and all of this stuff just came, and Jerry just, and they, like I said, this is when they were at their split, and he just came in and just took care of everything. And at a time of need, he was there for him, even though they weren't talking or not. You know what I'm saying? So I know Jerry has a big heart. I know he's but there's just something where it's just that ego or that little thing, man. He just cannot. He can't let it go. And the love, I mean, I don't know if you were at the game when then Jimmy got his Hall of Fame ring.
Yeah.
They had the ceremony there. And I was there for that game. I think it was a Philly game. and just the ovation and the love. And he did. How about them Cowboys and the stadium erupted? I get chills just even thinking about it. For the fans and everyone, do the right thing and put him in. It would be just unbelievable for the organization. He would get so much positive stuff. I believe in karma. I think there's some truth to some of what people are saying with the curse and this and that, because you got to do it. So I'm hoping it gets done. But like Jerry said, he'll do it. It's his team. He'll put whoever he wants in there. But if he puts another guy in before Jimmy Johnson, then it ain't never happening, man. Because there's no other guy who deserves to go in right now besides him.
Yeah, I agree. And somebody earlier in the chat said that DeMarcus Ware is now in the Hall of Fame. So DeMarcus Ware is probably the next player, Cowboys wise, that's got a chance to go in that Ring of Honor. So if they put Ware in before they put Jimmy Johnson, then he made a point. He said that it's personal if that happens.
It is.
And I agree, because the next guy that needs to be in that Ring of Honor is Jimmy. So, but yeah,
and that's the thing, like with the Ring of Honor, and I guess there's some guys who played on other. Yeah, Emmitt Smith obviously went to the Cardinals, and he's in there. But you wonder, does longevity, does that mean something, or where it's at? Because the other guy that amazes me is not in there is Ed Too Tall Jones. I was talking to a couple guys that we had on the show, and I would mention that, and they're like, he's not in there. It's like Ed Too Tall Jones. Shit, you can't say Ed Too Tall Jones and not think of the Dallas Cowboys. That's just he was played the most games. He was well over 100 sacks, and he was Dallas Cowboys, and he's not in. Which so I don't know the whole process, but Jerry's going to want to start getting his guys in, right? He's going to start wanting to get this generation in, and I don't want to. There you go. I don't want to put. Someone stole my thunder. Romo, would you put him in the Ring of Honor?
You probably have. I think I don't think he'll get in the Hall of Fame, but I think Ring of Honor probably. I don't know.
Man, 2 playoff wins, man.
I don't know, man. That's the problem. He put up some great stats. He put up some big numbers. When you look at quarterbacks, I think he has does he have all passing?
He has all, but let's be fair. The errors
it's a different era.
It's different eras.
It's absolutely a different era.
Danny White had all our records, and he's not in.
That's
he
true.
Had a lot of them,
I think with Romo, lack of playoff success will be the reason that dooms him, just the same reason that'll doom him from the Hall of Fame. Because I think if you look statistic wise, like if you gave Romo if Romo had won a Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer and Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah,
but he doesn't. He's got 2 playoff wins. So yeah, just unfortunately, I don't think he does. Just because I think when you look at the guys that are in that Ring of Honor, those are some of the all-time greats, and I just don't think. And I know Rev says, Romo's Jerry's son, he'll get in. I know they got a great relationship, but you start to, once you start putting, players like Romo in there who just didn't have the playoff success, who didn't live up to the Cowboys standard, because let's just face it, Cowboys standard is greatness. It's Hall of Fame, it's Super Bowls. Once you start doing that, you start diluting the whole meaning behind the Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? So you've got to be careful about who you put in there and who you select. And
there's not a lot of guys in the Ring of Honor. I can, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. There's, who's in there that you could probably,
a comparable guy maybe.
Danny White went to what, 3 or 4? I can't remember. NFC championship games. You look at like I said, Ed Too Tall Jones would be one. Quarterback, there's really no other one that's not in that should be in. But would you put Zeke? Would you put Zeke in the Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I don't think he's the guy that gets in either, to be honest with you, just because same thing. When you look at the guys, Dez,
there you go. Dez, would you put Dez in the Ring of Honor? I would put Dez in before I put Romo in.
Yeah, probably would have to say
that's just my opinion. I'll get some hate for it.
I have to agree with that. Well, I mean, when I'm looking for the names of some of these guys though that are in the ring, man, I mean, you've got some all-time greats. I mean, Darren Woodson, Don Meredith, Don Perkins, Drew Pearson, Emmett Smith, Larry Allen, Mel Renfro, Michael Irvin, Randy White, Rayfield Wright, Roger Staubach. I mean,
Those
Tony
are all Hall
Dorsett,
of Famers except Woodson, and Woodson
exactly.
should.
Exactly. So when you look at that, man, you're talking about some of the best to ever do it, right? So in my opinion, to get into the Ring of Honor, I mean, I think you got to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you have to be a Hall of Famer. And I love Des Bryant, his game.
But I wouldn't put him in. I was just making a point, but
got a lot of love for Zeke. I
yeah.
don't know if those guys, I don't know if they did enough to justify getting in the Ring of Honor. I think they'll be on the outside looking in. I think there'll always be guys that Jerry's very fond of and has got a great relationship with them. But when I think Ring of Honor, I think some of the best to ever do it. And while they may have been very good at what they were doing, I don't think that they were the best to ever do it. I don't think they fit in the mold of a lot of the guys that are already in there. Those guys are Hall of Famers, and and a lot of them won Super Bowls too. So
yeah, you gotta be the elite to do it. And I do think Super Bowls matter in Ring of Honor. And I mean that's just, but I think it matters, unfortunately. And hey, man, it's just the way it is. It matters for the quarterback. That's just, I mean, Dan Marino probably, if he would have won that Super Bowl or another one, would probably have gone down as the greatest quarterback of all time. And I still think he's one of the greatest, don't get me wrong, but every time you mention Dan Marino, it's but I'll take Joe Montana. Yeah, but I'll take John Elway. Yeah, but I'll take this one. But in that era quarterback, if you were there, and I was just a little kid, but I mean, I still remember Dan Marino. I mean, there ain't nobody that would sling it like him. He was ahead of his time. I mean, his numbers were, I mean, I can't even imagine what his numbers would be in the offenses and in the way the systems are today. But no Super Bowls. Just, yeah.
Yep, and then address the comment here about QBs not getting in the Hall of Fame without Super Bowl wins. Minus Marino, it's a team thing, so it requires all the guys performing, not just one. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. What I would say to that though is that I don't think it's necessarily just the Super Bowls. I think a lot of it's playoff success too. It's how you play in the biggest moments, right? So if you go to the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, and you're there, 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, but during the way, you have those memorable games, you have those legacy games, as I like to call them, legacy defining games, because right now, when you look at Dak's 7-year career, you could look at Dak Prescott and be like, damn, Dak Prescott has been a really damn good quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. But what has he done in the playoffs? What has he done that makes you, because let's be honest with you, nobody's going to remember in 20 years, nobody's going to remember a fourth quarter comeback that he made in week 14 of the regular season. They're not. They're going to remember what he did against San Francisco on the road. They're going to remember what he did against San Francisco at home, or the lack of what he didn't do, right? You got to make big plays, man. And that goes for really anybody, though. That goes for wide receivers, running backs, like how you play in the biggest moments. Emmitt Smith with the separated shoulder versus the Giants in the division round. We all remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of us are going to remember Zeke playing through his knee injuries through the regular season last couple of years? Because what did we do? We didn't do anything when it came to the playoffs.
Yeah.
It may be unfair, but these are legacy defining moments. So,
yeah. No, and that's what it really comes down to. And again, with a quarterback, it is unfair. It is unfair. I mean, we all say it, but that's what they're judged by, because when they want the contract, that's what they say. Well, he won a Super Bowl. What do Super Bowl quarterbacks usually get paid the second they win the Super Bowl? They touch the ball the most. It's a team game, 100%. But it's just the nature of the position, and it's what you get into. That's why you'd see a Witten. Witten's going to be in the Ring of Honor. I mean, he's one of the greatest tight ends of all time, and his greatest Cowboys tight end of all time. And there's been some great tight ends on the Cowboys. So, I mean, he would get in, but Romo, it's just, you look at it, the numbers are there, everything is there. It's just like Eli Manning. I mean, if Eli Manning didn't have those two games in the Super Bowl, he was an average at best quarterback, but when the playoffs came, he had his best, miracle moments. Now, hey, some crazy ass catches. I get it. I get it. But it happened under his watch, and that's what people remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I mean. Legacy defining moments. You know what I mean? People are always going to remember, what is it? David Tyree, the helmet catch that Eli
Yep.
Manning threw. He makes the catch on the helmet. Now that was one hell of a catch, but you know what? Eli had to spin out. I mean, he was in the grasp of a defensive end, and he still made that throw, and he put everything on it to get it downfield. And then the very next play, he had that touchdown pass to Plexico Burris. I mean, I remember that. I'm not even a Giants fan, but I remember that shit. I remember the moments that made Eli that people were like, you know what I mean? And I don't think, ultimately, I don't think Eli's a Hall of Fame type quarterback.
No.
He's probably going to get in because he's got 2 Super Bowls and because he made those big plays in the moments that carried his team to a win in the Super Bowl. And, like I said, it is what it is, man. And we had, there's been a couple of mentions of it here in the chat, but about the Dez catch, you know what I mean? That could have been a defining moment for Romo, for Dez. You know, that could have been a defining moment. In fact, that's probably a defining moment that wasn't, what I mean? Because it got turned over and unrightfully so. That's the thing that pisses me off the most is that the very next year they say that would have been a catch. And I say, yeah, that's like, it's a slap in the face is what it is. It's a slap in the face to every damn Cowboys fan. Cause I remember watching that game and I've never been so sick watching a game in my entire life. I had a company over, all kinds of people over at my house. And I left every single one of them inside the house and walked outside and had to be by myself, take a moment to sit down and process what the fuck I just saw.
Well, let me ask you, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate, so do not attack me, people. I'm just putting it out there. So on that play, 4th and 1, I think it was, or 4th and 2, that Dez catch.
Yeah.
Romo goes for the home run. There was a little time, you're there. You have Cole Beasley wide open for the first down. He doesn't score, but you're getting it inside the 10. Is it maybe Romo always wanted that big moment that he went for the gusto instead of just taking the play that's there? And you see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to dog. I'm just saying I think that's Romo's career. He's always took that chance. He always wanted that splash. He always wanted that big moment instead of just sometimes you just got to take what they give you. And you know what I'm saying? I know I'm going to get yelled at for it, but I'm just giving the other side of it where I think that was Romo's thing was he could have been so much, but because he wanted to be so much, he fell just a little short by not a lack of effort. Because I always say, undrafted quarterback, if he was on any other team, they'd have a movie about him for the career that he had. Really?
Yeah, no, and he was, man. He had it was funny because he had a gunslinger's mentality, and I think he lived by that. He loved that moniker because it was the way that they labeled Brett Favre, and he was a guy that molded himself after Brett Favre. He admitted it as much. I mean, and you look at a guy like Brett Favre. Brett Favre won a Super Bowl, unlike Tony Romo, he won a Super Bowl. I mean, Brett Favre was known for taking chances. He was known for throwing a lot of interceptions. He was known for always going for the home run ball. I mean, he'd throw a damn ball into triple coverage if he thought he could get it down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, you're going, why in the hell is this guy throwing that ball? Well, because sometimes it'd work out for him. Sometimes it wouldn't. He'd roll those dice, man. He's putting that all out on the table. And you're right. Romo did that a lot, and it came back to bite him in the ass. And, but it also made him into the quarterback that exciting quarterback where when you tuned in on Sunday, man, I will say this about Romo. Out of all the Cowboys quarterbacks I've watched, man, he was the most exciting. Just because you never knew what he was going to do. It could either be something that made you just pound your head into the wall or you'd be out of your seat. One of the two, you know what I mean? He just had some of the most spectacular plays and you just always felt like there was something coming. You know what I mean? I never felt out of a game. I always felt like he could bring us back. I always felt like he was going to make the big play. And it's very, very sad that his career was wasted away and all that came out of it was 2 playoff wins.
No, I know. It definitely was. And we interviewed somebody and they were talking about the game because I remember the 5 interceptions.
Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson, yeah, 5, and I still remember that against the Bills. I still remember this day. 5 interceptions, and they still win at the end of the game with I think it was either Falk, maybe was
Yep,
kicked like a
Nick
50
Folk.
yarder or something like that.
Yep.
And but you made a good point because if you look at Brett Favre, and maybe Green Bay fans will get all pissed off when I say this. Brett Favre and Romo very similar. I think Romo probably had better numbers than Brett Favre. The difference is Brett Favre in those moments, he had those moments, and you know what I mean, and Romo just didn't,
Yeah.
and that's how thin of a line it is from people loving Brett Favre as well. He's one of the greatest, but I mean, if you really remember his game, he turned the ball over a lot. Mike Holmgren, he couldn't stand him half the time.
Yep.
He drove Mariucci crazy sometimes. He drove McCarthy crazy, But I mean that was him. But he made plays. He was exciting. I used to love to watch Brett Favre play.
Oh yeah.
I used to love to watch him play because he was exciting. And that's what Romo did. And Romo, he brought that. And it's something to be appreciated. And I know we got way off subject from what the hell we're talking about, but it was a good conversation because he is always going to be that underappreciated quarterback in NFL history. But in Cowboy Nation and Cowboys world, we love him because he was the savior that picked us up off the bottom of the floor with all the crappy quarterbacks they were handed through all those years. And he just kind of came in and he just brought so much life. And then it was, unfortunately injuries just, they took the toll on him ultimately, but we've been fortunate. I know maybe some people don't like it, but we've been fortunate to transition to Dak and have this run of having
Absolutely.
good quarterbacks. Man, it sucks when you don't. We've been there.
Well, yeah, and that's what I think makes it so hard. I guess, at least for me personally, as a Cowboys fan, and I'm sure most Cowboys fans can agree, is that we've been lucky in terms of the fact that we rolled from Romo right into Dak, but it's like we got to witness Romo's entire career of just falling short, just can't get over that hump. Yeah. And now we're in that same spot with Dak, right? And it's almost like, would you rather be like a Cleveland Browns type team or a Detroit type team where just every year you're just shitty, you're going to be shitty, or be like the Cowboys to where it's like, we got a pretty good squad here. We've got a chance. You start getting your hopes up later in the season. You're like, oh man, this could be the squad. This could be the year. And then year after year, you get your heart ripped out in the playoffs, because to me, that's almost harder than when we were in the dark days, when we were, when we got Dave Campo coming up, where we'll be able to talk about, some of those 5 and 11 years, those were some awful years, but I still had fun watching football. I knew the team sucked. I knew, hey, at least we'll get a good draft pick next year, and now it's just kind of like, well, are we good enough to win it all? I know we got a good team. I think we probably win 11 games, probably win 12 games, but what are we going to do when the playoffs come? And it's just like we're always on the cusp. It feels like the Cowboys have been on the cusp, and I feel like I've been saying this. That's why a lot of people are like, well, Cowboys fans say every year's our year. Well, that's because we seems like we've been so fucking close for decades, man. It's like, shit.
What else can you say? You always got to say that.
Yeah, it's like, eventually the dam's got to open up, the water's got to come rushing. I mean, we gotta get past the barrier at some point. So it's just frustrating to see a quarterback like Tony Romo go in 2 playoff wins. Dak Prescott for his first 7 years, great quarterback, off to a great start, accomplished a lot of things, 2 playoff wins. When is enough going to be enough? When is this team going to be good enough to get over the hump? Hopefully it's this season, but we're just, Cowboys fans want that Super Bowl, but we've been on that cusp for so long. That's what's frustrating.
No, and they've been, it's been a long run. The funny thing is, I not to jump back, we got to hop in chat, so I appreciate it. So I did want to address a couple. So they're talking about Grammatica would have threw a block, Romo would have gotten the end zone. So two things. The part that really pisses me off about this game in particular, if you guys remember, is we had a first down to Jason Witten. And I don't know how the hell the replay found the ball, and they moved the ball about 6 inches back, and it made it that. We were supposed to be first and goal. Game over. It was going to be, that's a wrap. So that was bullshit in the first instance. The second one is Grammatica. That was an interesting one. he lives here. He's actually a soccer coach in Tampa, and I was almost tempted to see if I don't know if it'd be worth getting him on for a few minutes to talk about that game. That's really the only. He was there for 1 year, but that game is so intriguing to me. The thought process is, what the hell were you thinking when you saw that? In the bobbled snap, because I mean, it was just an amazing play. So I don't know if it's worth getting him on. I don't know if he talk about it, but if you guys think it's worth a conversation, I could probably go to the soccer fields and find him and see if I can talk him into coming on. But that was the other thing, that Witten. It was just people forget that replay, and that wasn't a challenge. I was up in the booth. It was bullshit.
Yeah, well, we've experienced a lot of Cowboys have experienced a lot of bullshit, in my opinion. So that's a call. It just doesn't seem like things tend to go the Cowboys' way when it comes to calls and crucial moments or crucial games. They find the worst possible ways to lose and just continue to just rip your heart out, and you just dejected. But here we all are, still with our game face on, ready to go.
We're ready, and we got a good game. But like I said, Campo, people forget, and that's why we got 2 good interviews next week. People forget Campo was here for 18 years. Yeah, he coached 3 years, and he got kind of put in a bad situation. He was after, my memory's right, he was after Chan Gailey.
Yeah.
I think he was after Chan Gailey, and he was before Parcells.
Yep.
Right? Pretty sure.
I believe right before Parcells.
Chan Gailey was not one of my favorite Cowboy coaches. I don't know your thoughts on it. The team was definitely heading south. Not a lot of talent, but they actually started drafting a little bit. I think he got Roy Williams on during his time. I think Terrence Newman might have been with Campo. So there's definitely some cool stuff. But actually, one of the cooler things is he actually was a coach at University of Miami. Some people don't know. He was under Jimmy Johnson's staff that won the national title in '87. So it was funny. I talked to him today to kind of set everything up. I don't know if you guys remember. He was a character, very good, high energy, great personality. Sounds exactly the same. Was really happy to jump on and told him about the show and what we do. And so I think we're gonna have a great time. And I'm like, hey man, we'd love to do it live. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do live. So he's like, yeah, man, hell yeah, let's do it live. Because, so I had to do it 8 o'clock. We don't want to make it 9 o'clock. I got to be respectful. He's 76. I want to show a little respect. But he sounds great. And he had and his memories, we were talking about stories. So it's going to be a fun interview. So Kelly, you better be ready because it's going to be a good time for that one. And Ernie Mills will be a lot of fun too. So.
Absolutely. Looking forward to both of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and get Jimmy. I hung out at his restaurant down in the Keys when we were driving down there. We're gonna find Jimmy Johnson one of these days. I'll get his ass on here.
We can get him on here. I'll come at him with the Jimmy. I'll come at him with the Jerry Jones. Hit him with the Jerry Jones one time.
That's right. But we've got some other stuff in the works. So these are the dog days. This is the dog days. We got some good interviews to kind of hold you guys over. I think we're maybe even working on maybe a special guest on our regular Thursday show next week if we get something worked out. So we've got some stuff going. Then the draft. Then the fun starts because then we can sit there. We know who we got. We know the schedule should be out. We start circling the calendars. Kelly and I will figure out where the hell we're going to a game to hang out with Cowboys Nation. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we do have a 90s guy. Might have 2 90s guys. I'm not going to spoil it. I don't want to jinx anything. But should have hopefully 2 90s guys that played on the 3-time Super Bowl championship Cowboys teams on. So we definitely got a lot of good stuff coming on. So make sure you share, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like. It doesn't cost you anything. What it does is cost us because when we get to 2,000 subscribers, we got a pretty cool giveaway where it's going to be either CD, Parsons, we'll figure something out. Maybe Dak, we're gonna get something for your man cave because your boy loves the Cowboys cave. So we gotta spruce up yours. So when we get to 2,000 subscribers, we've got a big giveaway, just like we did at 1,000. We gave away Parsons, my man Doug, who's on here. Hopefully that he's taking good care of it, or I'll drive up to Carolina and take it back. So anyway, anything else you got to say, Kelly? I know you're sick, so I don't want to keep you all night. We've been rolling.
No, man, I'm just excited to get some interviews, man. You guys have been great again. showing up in the chat, being interactive. Had some good comments and some good questions and stuff to roll off of. So we definitely feed off of that. Looking forward to you guys showing up in the chat when we get Mr. Campo in here, and we can talk about some times, some of the dark days, and how he got through that, and what his relationship was like with Jerry. I'm always interested in that aspect of kind of what he thought about Jerry. So
yeah, and the good times, because he was there. He was
and the
there
good
when it
times.
started. He was
Yep.
there when it started in '89, and he went through into the '90s. But love to be, we get to be the fly on the wall, because I'm going to ask him. And usually, when these guys are retired, they don't give a shit. I want to know what he thought when he heard that Jimmy Johnson was being let go by the Cowboys. What's got to go through a coach's mind?
Yeah.
It's really going to be interesting. So we're going to have a good time. Make sure you hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit the share. Doesn't cost you nothing. Let all the Cowboys Nation know, tagging K9, man. We're running this thing going. And believe me, when the season gets started, you get us together, man. It's gonna be something going down pre-game, post-game. It's gonna be live, right, Kelly?
That's right. I'm ready.
All right, brother. Feel better. You make sure you get healthy. We'll be ready next Wednesday. Ernie Mills, Dallas Cowboy, Pittsburgh Steeler. We're talking Super Bowl 30. We're going to get the stories from the other side. So until then, appreciate it. You guys take care. I got to update my stuff. When Kelly gets healthy, he's supposed to be sending me some video clips for our ending. But we'll leave you with this. Peace out. Take care, man. Feel better, Kelly.
All right, man.
See you.
You Eagles getting ready, because you might not like it, but you will learn to love it, because we are the best thing going today. Now can you dig it?